Hello, everyone, and welcome to Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. I'm Will Schick. I'm here with Michael Plummer.
Hello.
And we are here to probably play an X-Wing game today, although I think we're going to spend a lot of time talking as we kind of move our ships around the board, because this is the makeup game from last week where we had wild weather Everett.
Oh, that was crazy.
A lot of windstorms, and for those who don't live in the Pacific Northwest, whenever you get a ton of wind up here, you lose power and internet almost guaranteed. I've been here 13 years now, every time.
Every year.
Yep. The second it starts to get stronger than a light breeze, you're like, okay, it's just a countdown. It's a waiting game. So we're here, and we're going to be playing with several of the changes that we've discussed for X-Wing. We're going to be talking with the chat, answering questions as we can about those changes in specific, why we decided to do some of them, what was the thought process behind it, what are we aiming for. This is just going to be kind of a mixture, a bit of a dev talk with a game of X-Wing, because I'd rather spend most of my focus on talking about the dev and design, as I'm sure Plummer would as well. I'm not planning on playing my best here, or partially well. I think we might not even get through this game, depending on how the discussion goes.
We'll have fun, though.
But it's here, and yeah, we're going to have some fun. And if nothing else, this will be a great way to kind of represent some of these changes in the live action. So for those who need a catch-up, what are we doing that's different here? So first off, deficit scoring is a thing. We talked about this during Mini Extravaganza. Plummer, you want to walk us through what deficit scoring means?
Yeah, deficit scoring is a pretty simple concept. So the point total for a list in X-Wing for a squad list is 200 squad points. And so at the start of the game, you subtract the point total of your squad list from 200, and if there's anything remaining, that is your deficit. Your deficit is immediately scored by the other player at the start of the game.
And this also comes into play with the fact that bidding is no longer how first player is determined in the game anymore, or player order is determined, I should say. That is now done away with. We also announced that at Mini Extravaganza. One of the biggest questions that has come up in all of the discussion circles, and one of the things that we've been working on very intently in the office and with our playtesters that have been assigned to this specific project, is how do you determine player order in a world in which bids no longer exist?
Well, that's a really interesting question, and we went through so many iterations on how to do this. When it all started off, we said, okay, well, we'll randomize player order. So we'll make it a die roll at the start of the game. And we tried that, and unfortunately it didn't solve the problem that we were looking to solve, which is that there is a certain advantage to knowing which player you are depending on what squad you're playing. Whether that advantage is first or second player kind of depends on what you've built and what you've brought to the table and what you're preparing to do. But there is a definitive advantage when you get the turn order that you want for the squad that you have brought, and it allows you to leverage that throughout the entire game. So single roll, top of game, didn't work for us.
I want to hit really quick.
Yeah.
There's a question about why deficit scoring doesn't matter for player order. It matters because currently, and we're going to talk about this more because it is going to be still how you determine victory in a normal game of X-Wing. Your points scored are how you determine victory. So deficit scoring is really important because if I want to play within the rules, and I'm using quotation marks that you can't see right now, I can simply come in X number of points short. And now I have basically fortressed those points in a way that Plummer can never score them. So as long as I think I can outfly my opponents, I now have basically an impermeable shield, an impenetrable shield, impermeable, that works too.
Yeah.
It stops your liquids from getting through.
It does.
There's a lot of liquids in a game of X-Wing. I don't know if you know this. However, it stops players from being able to game the system by banking points that they can no longer have scored against them, which makes the game not as much fun as it should be. And also, you should be incentivized to use all of your stuff.
Yeah, this is really just a change that puts everyone on a level playing field right from the start. Everyone has 200 points available to score in the game from the get. Maybe you start with 3 or 5 of them. That's great. Still got 195 to go. But there's 200 on the table that are just for you to go take.
So moving on from that question, which was a great one from the chat, the next thing that we tried was alternating play order. So we said, okay, well, what happens if you randomly determine with a roll at the start, and then every round of the game, you switch the player order accordingly. So it goes back and forth, basically, in a 2-player game across the table. Again, this really didn't accomplish what we were looking for, which is, and this is where we'll dive into the meat of where we're going next, the idea that we need in X-Wing to go back to its core original roots. It's a dogfighting game. It's a game about anticipation and not perfect information. The excitement from X-Wing, from our point of view, And I think as players who, I started playing when the game was pre-launched at Gen Con. I played on a table in a hotel room and thought it was really cool. But for us, the core of the X-Wing experience is all revolves around that anticipation, that high adrenaline octane feel of being an ace pilot in a dogfight situation. This means that most of the changes we're going to talk about, the things that we're looking at, is all about ratcheting up the bonus or the need to be aggressive, to engage, and to not play a waiting game where we roll, where we kind of like spin our ships around, fly defensively until we see our opening, and then immediately go for the throat. We want players to operate with player skill and agency, and I said the word. I want you to have choices in the game, but that are not predicated on having perfect information. And one of the big things that the way in which we did it now, which many people call ROAD because it's a nice acronym, does is it removes that ability to pre-plan or wait for your moment. What we found in every playtest game we played, we had reported back to us, was the core problem that we're trying to address, which is player strength. If I have built a squadron to do something specifically on a specific player order, I can wait it out until I get the perfect opportunity to do what I want to do. And until then, I'm playing a waiting game. I'm not actually playing the game the way it's originally intended, and I think the way that it is most fun to play the game, which is to have your ships engaging each other, dogfighting, spinning around, and fighting. I'm going to be completely honest. You may not agree with that statement. You might find that old X-Wing or current X-Wing in its form before these changes take full effect might have been the game of your dreams. You liked the strategic nature, the high turn zero nature of the game, where effectively it's a tower defense game. I wait and I wait for my moment of opportunity, I strike, and then I come back and I win the game based on that one perfect sequence of events. And I'm going to do everything I can to learn the movements and the rules and all of that stuff for it. That is not the game that we believe X-Wing is supposed to be, nor is it the game that I believe will take X-Wing into the next 10 glorious years of its future. We are very focused on making a game that, as Plummer has put so eloquently in several meetings before, is the most fun and enjoyable for the widest group of people as possible while delivering on the theme and the excitement. So that is why it is very intentional that we have kind of come in and shook the snow globe as hard as we can when it comes to how people currently play X-Wing versus how they will play X-Wing in this new future. You're correct. Your strategies and tactics that you currently use are completely screwed. That's the point. Because the way in which the game was played initially does not jive with where we believe the success and the future of the game lies.
Yeah, and I just want to add, like, a lot of what this is about reducing the skill floor of the game. You know, if a new player is coming to play X-Wing and they're playing at their local store against a bunch of really seasoned players who know exactly what maneuvers to make because they know they're going second, because they have the best bid, and they know exactly what's going to happen, there is such a huge amount of download that you have to take in from the community, from the people around you, from joining Discords and different groups and starting to talk to people, that it could take months before you can feel like you're actually competently playing the game. And that's hard, especially as a new player, especially as someone that maybe only plays on the weekends with their family. And we want to make sure that they have this same interactive, dynamic, constantly moving game that we know that X-Wing can be, and that we know makes X-Wing a lot of fun to play.
Correct. Now, there are many other changes that we are currently working on that will also affect this new road forward for X-Wing. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't quite... There's a transitional period in terms of how we like to reveal things and talk about things as a studio, the way in which we like to generate hype and also stick to our promises. We told people last week that we would show them what the new RPO rules would be, random player order rules would be. We unfortunately weren't able to do that in a venue like this. Unfortunately, our website is still being worked on. We are still going through the pains of trying to get that finalized. So doing articles and stuff is still slightly out of our grasp based on our current things and all of the restrictions that we have. In order to be able to post stuff, we work with some amazing partners in licensing. There are many rules and regulations that go with that, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything on both sides, both the player side and our side, to make sure that everyone is as happy as can be, and we get to continue to do this for the next 10 years, if not more. With that said, we posted up the snippet with the intention that people would see that it was a snippet, a preview of what is to come, not kind of the end-all, be-all of everything that was there. So with that, it's also important to note that, as I said, the strategies and the way the game was played before are now very different, and that's clearly the point. There's also a lot of things that go in with that build upon this new foundation, that will play into it to make the game the experience that we've been talking about this whole time.
Before we jump into that, though, Shake, I think that we should definitely talk about the idea of random order before the dial is set, just because the community has talked a lot about that. I've seen it popping up everywhere, people saying, I really wish I could do this before the dial. I really want to do this before the dial. We tried it. We did. After we went from alternating, we said, okay, it's going to be a random roll every turn, and that felt great. We were doing it before the dials, and it was fun. It was great until we played a few games, and then we realized that we can do the same thing. We can just wait until we get the roll that we want to engage, and so there are fewer choices to make on any given turn because you see the result of what's going to happen, and then you have your decision tree laid out right in front of you, right then, and you know exactly what the right move is. And there's one player who is doing that knowing that they have the advantage, and there's the other player knowing that they do not have the advantage. We don't want engagement when you only have the advantage. It doesn't bring that excitement. There's no decision making as far as consequence, like, oh, a thing happened. How do I change my plan? What is the thing that I want to do? And then we tried random order after the dial, and that is what brought us to the place where we are the most satisfied with the game, where we think it's the most fun, the most interesting, and where you really have to use your brain wrinkles to decide where you're going to go and what your plan is. And then, you either stick to that plan or you cut away from it depending on how it's going. And it has that excitement of like, I have 2 seconds to make a decision before I crash into Kylo Ren.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is again, and I will reiterate this once again, the road forward is very much a different version of the game. It is incentivizing a different play style. It is incentivizing more risk. And I think one of the things that has been the most enjoyable about the new change to random play order, and the fact that you have to set your dials before you know what the play order will be, is that now that idea of anticipating the other ace across the table, of trying to decide, is he going to turn left or right? What will happen when that happens? The unknown nature of that adds far more tactical interest and excitement in terms of, as you mentioned, Plumber, salvaging a bad plan. I thought they were going to turn left, they turned right. Oh no. It also brings back the idea that these games are meant to be played with people across the table. You are supposed to be interacting with your opponent in many different ways. And we talk about this a lot in all of our dev panels. You have to remember that the game is not what's happening on the table as much as it is happening between the two players. So while we are engaging and interacting and creating shared experiences on the tabletop, we need to make sure that the other player is just as engaged and that we are having a meaningful connection with each other. Now, there are a lot of ways to do that. But I think the idea that in X-Wing, because of its dogfighting nature, because of the way in which the roll after dials are set, determines everything, you're going to be paying more attention to your opponent. There's more of a bluff game. There's more of a read game. You're now getting that thematic feel of being in the cockpit, watching that TIE fighter in front of you and going, is he going to juke left? Is he going to juke right? What does that mean? How do I plan? Like, what am I doing?
The whole thing becomes a game of chicken.
It does. To some extent, like, there is much more adrenaline and excitement, and there's a lot more room for interesting and unique plays. You can be more risky because the outcome is not predetermined. There are a lot of things that go along with that. And one of the things that's being mentioned in the chat is that there are so many different upgrades that kind of like work against this idea. Plumber, you want to talk a little bit about one of the things that's coming that will definitely address a lot of these concerns?
Well, I'm sure you're referring to the ban and restricted list.
I am, yes.
Yeah, so we are actively working on the ban and restricted list. It is something that we realize is going to have to come pretty much right at the same time that this change, when this change becomes official, when it goes into the rulebook, we're going to need to have a ban and restricted list. And we've seen a lot of people talking like, what cards are going to be on the ban and restricted list? What's it going to be? And well, we're not going to tell you the names of all the cards, but what I will tell you is that if the card lets you look at someone's dial, it's probably banned. That's not 100% true. That is not wrote. There are some that may be restricted depending on if there's a cost to it, what's the value of it, how does it fit into squads. But generally, the dial is sacred again. It is set, it is unknown, it is there, and you have to stare at it knowing what you set, or maybe forgetting what you had set during the planning phase. And when it flips, it's a revelation to everyone. It is a surprise, and that is what dictates the flow of the game. And also there are a few other cards like Luke Skywalker Gunner for Rebels. He will be on the ban list. I'll go ahead and say that right now, because it just kind of defeats the entire purpose of what we're trying to do here. Because it allows you to, move your gun around with no consequence. Doesn't cost an action. You just do it. That's fine in X-Wing the way it is now, but with the loss of that perfect knowledge, it adds too much of an advantage. And if we're trying to remove undue advantage, that means banning a card sometimes.
And for those asking about why have a banner restricted list when hyperspace exists, it's because hyperspace won't exist anymore. That format had great intentions, and I think it had a direction that it wanted to go, but I imagine that I'm not alone amongst all of the players who've looked at it and the way in which it was received, that it just wasn't succeeding in those goals. So we're going to be getting rid of hyperspace as a format. We're going to be introducing some new formats that are going to be very basic in terms of like all-encompassing nature. They're going to be considered standard and extended, and we're going to be talking more about that stuff as we get forward. But effectively, that is why the banner restricted list is going to be important, because hyperspace is no longer going to be a format that we support.
And the banned and restricted list will be, for standard play. That's what it is. And extended is going to be kind of your Wild West, where if you want to play all these cards that you know and love playing, extended is the place for you.
There you go. All right. I think we've run through like a lot of stuff. We have more stuff to talk about, but maybe we'll talk about that as it comes into the game. So we should take our first.
Maybe we should
move
set
some
our dials.
ships.
Yeah.
We should move some ships.
Do you want to do lists first real fast?
No, I don't, Tony. I don't want to do lists.
I thought they were on the screen.
Just put them on the screen. Put them on the screen while we select our dials. It's gonna be fine. There's so much excitement right now.
I am the first player.
You won the roll. Yes. We both rolled 2 crits. You rolled that 1 hit, and I rolled a blank, and it was very sad for me. But I will somehow survive. Oh, Scorch. So beautiful. I think I want you to do that. Okay.
All right.
I took my eyes off the screen. So there were lists, very exciting. We are getting to play with some of the new I guess just the new Republic Y-Wing, right?
Yeah.
Or Resistance Y-Wing, not Republic, sorry. Trying to watch chat and do things. Go ahead. I have, my lowest is a 3.
My lowest is also a 3. I'm the first player, so
Nail it.
here I go. So Shasta Zaro has a 3 straight. And then for my action, I'm going to go ahead and take a boost. We'll just do the 1 straight. Can't stress.
I think it's also maybe exciting. I don't know, the chat is going like 1,000 miles an hour, and I know Pagani and BK are both in there talking. That it's important to note, deficit scoring, no bids, random first player order with the roll happening before the dials. All of that is like where we are. Mm-hmm. So those things are locked in. They're not, we didn't release them on Friday for like a weird beta test or some kind of like market research. Like we've done our homework. We've looked at all of the options. And as I've said many times before, this is where we believe the brightest future and the best experience of X-Wing is going forward. So, all right. You did your 3.
Yeah, I did my 3.
My
So
3.
your 3?
My 3, he's got this debris cloud in front of him, so he's gonna do this. Whee! And then for his action, I think he's just gonna evade. Not that I'm thinking I'm gonna get shot, but
Seems good.
Boop.
I think you have a 4.
I do have a 4.
My next is a 5.
All right, I do have a 4, so I'll do my 4. Scorch is going to go 3 ahead. Full speed. Not really. 3 ahead.
I saw a question in the chat about can the roll for random player order be influenced? No. There's no instance where it will be able to be influenced. There are no plans to make an upgrade that will allow you to influence that roll or allow abilities to influence that roll. It's not supposed to be something that you have agency over. You're not supposed to be able to control the random roll. So that's not something that we're looking to do now.
Okay.
All right, so my 5 is Ray doing this sweet 3 bank.
For those asking when these rules become official, we don't have a specific time set for them. We're hoping before the end of the year, but there are a lot of things that go into it, and we're not going to release things that aren't completely locked in and down. We have reached a point in the process where we have locked certain things, but like we've talked about, some of the things we're going to show today are currently I trust you. I don't think you're going to cheat me, and if you do, I might catch it in the amazing discussion that's happening right now.
Yeah.
So now I've lost my train of thought. We're still working on other things around it. So certainly as you go through iterations of process, you say, okay, we've landed on this. We really like it. It's accomplishing everything we want. Now we have to check around what other things are happening, what's going on. So, and again, for those people who are in here saying, I don't like the way the new system works, I get it. It's different. It's not the same. It's not meant to be the same. I would encourage you to try it. If you have tried it and you still don't like it, I'm sorry. That's all I can really say. However, it's our responsibility and goal to create a game, as Plumber and I have talked about a couple times now, that is the most fun, the most thematic, and the best, brightest future going forward for the game. And we strongly feel as a studio and as a development team that we have landed upon those things with the changes that we're working on with the new future going forward for X-Wing. And that's where we are. So.
Do you have a 5?
Oh, somebody's asking about a score track. You want to talk about that?
Oh, score tracker. Yeah,
let's
talk
taking
about
notes. Let's talk about taking notes.
Let's talk about taking notes. So moving forward, once we put all these changes in, you will be allowed to track the score of the game on a sheet of paper at the table, or write down little notes that you need to do. And this doesn't mean that you can sit there and do complex math equations on the timer. You'll still get called for slow play if you do that, but there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to write down that you've destroyed 49 points so that you can score track easier at the end of the game. So you will be allowed to take notes as far as the game state and the score moving forward.
I'm gonna lock.
And you know what? Let's go ahead and go into the other point that goes with that. This is going to be particularly important because we're going to make a change to the timing of when you score ships that you have taken to half. So as soon as you bring a ship to half of its combined hull and shield values, including any upgrades that are on it, the second you do it, you score half the points for that ship. Half the squad points for that ship and its upgrades are added to your score the moment that they hit half. So there's no more regenerating one more above it before the end of the game so that the player doesn't earn those points. They earned them by bringing the ship to half, so they get them right then.
Mm-hmm. There will be new official tournament documents that will also include new documents that will go into Worlds in its new form when that returns. Hopefully sometime next year, pandemic willing. That will have all of these new changes that we're talking about that also go into these core changes as well. That experience is going to be very different. I have a 6.
That's my 6, yeah.
So it's your 6. Those will be going on. So
Poe, and then I'm gonna let Poe boost too. You're just going boost happy today.
I like boosting. Boosting's good. That seems like a Poe move to me.
Yeah, right?
He would boost.
All right.
I wish I could boost. Heck, I'd boost all the time. I think I will do the barrel rolls.
Mm-hmm.
This one. Whee! Try to get away from that asteroid, eh?
Seems good.
Why 3 dice instead of 1 die when rolling for the player order? That's a great question. Let's go ahead and talk about that. So it is true that rolling 1 dice and calling, or flipping a coin as it were, is maybe slightly faster with 2 players.
Maybe.
However, it predicates the idea that X-Wing is a game for only 2 players. And that is just simply not true. X-Wing, I think, has great potential and honestly has formats currently that allow for multiple players to play. A coin flip only has 2 sides. It doesn't allow 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 players to play. Having 3 dice in there with the math that's in between the crits, the focuses, and the hits allows for multiplayer scenarios that don't have to change the core of how player order is determined. Players can roll, you can determine first player, and then you can move clockwise around the table. It's always best when we look at these games, we want to inject as much different game modes and possible and player options for using your collection, the widest breadth possible. In order to do that, it's important to build a foundation and a core experience that lends itself to different options and different formats. So you want to think in your design, not just, okay, how's the base game played, but also what other places do we want to go with? Where do we want to take this game? We want more multiplayer. We want more interesting scenarios that change things in different ways. We want the ability to have the design space to make that first player role matter in maybe narrative scenarios or to affect AI that might come out in future things. All of these things are built into the idea that this dice system allows us to have, whereas a simple flip of the coin does not.
Yeah, and there's also just the simple fact that rolling dice is fun, and rolling dice against someone is interesting. You know, you get to, there's that moment of anticipation when you're both rolling the dice before you let them drop, and in that moment of wondering, like, what's going to happen. And personally, I feel more invested and more engaged when I get to roll dice for it. I'm not just watching someone else roll and hoping. I feel like I did it.
I believe we're at the engagement phase.
We are at the engagement phase.
If there's anything that I missed while I was, talking. So,
I don't think Poe has a shot, but we're going to find out with my 6 here. Get my range tool together. I think I'm out. Yeah. So nothing from my 6.
Okay. My 6 is clearly out. I don't even need to pretend to measure that.
That's fair.
Our 5s, however, they're going to have a good time.
So Kylo's got a lock on Ray right now, but that's a pretty sweet target over there. I think I'm going to have Ray take a fire at, is that long shot? Yeah, so I'll fire at long shot. Won't be obstructed, but you will get the range 3 bonus.
How rude, sir. So range bonus.
3 hits right out the gate.
Gosh, what is this? Okay, so I get 3 plus the range bonus is 4. 3.
There it is.
I won't even spend that token.
Super agile.
Nailed it. He's flying all. Hand cannot reroll player order, just because I saw it in there.
Mm-hmm. That U on the card refers to Han Solo, the ship.
Yeah,
Han Solo YT-1300.
He doesn't roll. He doesn't roll the player order dice.
Because otherwise that would be when you roll dice, if you are within range 1 of an obstacle, like you, the player.
All right. Kylo's going to unload on Ray, I guess. Because why not? So we got 3. Of course, you are at range 3. Oh, my gosh. Do I want to reroll? I don't. So I'll take nothing.
Okay, great.
You can roll if you'd like, just to show how much better you are than me. One more, sir. You got the range bonus.
Oh, I do have the range bonus. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll do. All right, so that was my 5, your 5, so now you're 4.
Yeah, nothing. I don't even need to measure it. And my 3 is pointed at nothing.
Yeah, my 3's way out.
Great.
So,
all right.
Time to clean up.
Time to clean up.
So, any green tokens go away.
These
Cheers.
are.
All right.
Put these back.
Time to set some dials.
Yeah, let's dial. I like it. I better make sure that I have the right dial because 3 of them are the same and 1 of them is different. Okay. Points adjustments will be still a thing going forward. There may be some adjustments that happen with the drop of the rules. There may not be. We're still, like I said, we're still currently in a position where we are testing and finalizing everything else that goes along with these changes. So we'll have to wait and see about how dramatically we feel like we need to adjust or change the current situation. One of the big things to note is that, as a lot of players have pointed out, this radically changes how you approach the game. This changes what's good, what's bad. We could have 5 years of testing internally on this stuff, and we're still not going to be able to play as many games as the community will ultimately play. And this is why games like X-Wing have fallen into a system where you see regular updates. They're living, breathing systems. As things shift, as new releases come in, as those things happen, the goal from development is always to release a product that's perfect and never needs to be changed. But as I've talked about many times in Mini Extravaganza, one of my favorite analogies is that all of these games are like a garden. They require a lot of care and constant patience, and sometimes you got to go in and you got to weed, and sometimes you got to go and trim hedges, and sometimes you just rip things up and you put new things in place, because your goal is the complete garden. It's not one specific thing. It's not one tree. It's not one plant. Everything is built around that, and so you have to be willing to go in and analyze what worked, what didn't, to look at emergent play patterns, to decide if that's what you meant, to realize how to fix emergent play patterns in different ways. Those are the kinds of things that happen. Okay, I'm totally gonna make like so many mistakes this round because I'm not even thinking about this game anymore.
I'm hoping that's true because I do love beating you at games.
Well,
It rarely happens.
You've
That's why I
beaten me
love
at like
it so
every
much.
X-Wing game we've ever played, so I feel like, we're gonna do. God, why are you so fast, Kylo? Slow down, man. Just slow down.
He has no
Monster.
chill.
He
Kylo Ren has
doesn't.
no chill.
He's got zero chill. This man is he's just a monster. Okay, we're gonna do that. But I can only imagine all of the great questions I'm missing right now in chat. So
I saw a question in chat.
I'm just
about
gonna set and go.
if we're
Just gonna
going
set
to
and go.
the question was if we're going to adjust fragile aces, and the answer to that is probably in some way. Obviously, there are going to be big shifts to
Sure.
the value that
Seems fine.
chips have based on this change in the way that you play.
Oh, two focus.
I got 2 hits.
Yeah,
So you win.
I win.
So what that means, though, is that we're gonna look at the points on all these things together, kind of once we've
Give me that token. This is
once-
mine.
once we've
I've
sort of
won this.
gelled up all of the changes that we know that we want to make. That's the time when we can really dig in and get into the points and get it right. And some of them will come right when this drops. Others maybe later. It's not something that we can give a timeline on right now because it's all a work in progress. Like we're actively painting the painting, and the picture will be beautiful in the end. But right now, it's just a bunch of color on a canvas.
I'm going to barrel roll.
Ooh,
I'm forcing an issue here because we
Spicy.
got to talk about it, but we're gonna see. That's my
Yeah.
3.
that's fair.
It's your 3.
My 3.
Don't forget your upgrades this time. I'm being told. I have mine in front of me. I don't think they've come into play
Me
yet.
or you?
You, I
Oh,
believe.
me.
I think
Oh,
they're talking
dear.
to you.
Probably. Oh, yeah. Cheers. Well, would have been good to know when I was setting my
Thomas on a bush,
That's okay, next
asking
time.
again if you notice more instances of bumps with the new player order.
Oddly
We
enough.
might have an answer for that.
Yeah. We do. Yeah, it does happen because you don't have that perfect information.
I want to see if you're going to bump
Absolutely.
into me, though.
I don't
wanna
think
see
I
it.
am. That's the funny
No?
thing. Is you
You
said
don't
you're gonna.
think so?
I said
You don't think
you said
so?
you're gonna force an issue. I don't remember what I said actually.
That's great.
So we'll
That was
find
great.
out.
Go ahead.
But I'm gonna take my 1 bank left here and remove stress. And then for my action, I'm gonna focus today. Am I?
The ban list
Yeah.
will come with the initial rules drop for absolute certainty. That will also be when hyperspace rotates out and stops being a thing. So, for those asking who just showed up in the chat, I'm going to tell you to go back and watch the whole thing because we spent a long time. We've spent the whole game actually because we barely even
We
started,
barely played. It's the
I need to
second
flip
round.
this
Yeah, we need
over.
to flip that.
talking about all this stuff. So I would just encourage you to go back and listen to everything in its whole nature because we've been having a great conversation so far. Okay. You're 3. You don't have a 4. I have a 4. My 4. Scorch. Whee.
That's
He's
scary.
gonna focus
Okay.
because he wants to shoot himself up.
I mean, yeah, seems
to
good.
shoot himself a Y-wing here.
Seems
You're
good.
my 5
You're
because I'm the
5.
first player. Kylo. Yeah, do it, Kylo. Do it.
Oh, but this is probably where it's going to happen.
Yeah, this was
Yeah,
my,
okay.
this
I
was
thought
my
you were
hope.
talking with this guy. I was
this-
like, no.
This was my hope. I'm going to. normally I would probably boost or barrel roll, but I kind of want. You know what? We'll do this. It's fine. Maybe Poe will bump into me. We'll play like this.
Okay.
We'll be fine.
Well, let's see what I did.
Yeah, what did you do?
What did I do?
Make a hard
I did
turn?
a hard turn too.
Oh, it still might work.
It still might work.
My goodness.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Do.
Little game state issue here. So I try and get my
Oh.
money back on the base. It's fine.
Bumping me left and right.
It's no big deal.
This is
We're good.
nonsense. Did you actually run into me?
I did. I absolutely
Nice.
did. And then I had to remove the pegs
Yeah.
from my mini.
And then get my thing like right between your
That's
prongs.
That's how it fits.
Okay, so let's talk about what just happened. So obviously one of the things that people have asked about and discussed, they're saying you should increase the pegs, not decrease the pegs. Whatever.
I don't.
We don't have
any
the
peg with
extra
me right
pegs
now,
with
so here
us.
we are.
Yeah. So when a ship normally does not complete its
Yeah, partially
maneuver,
when you partially execute your maneuver currently.
in the current state of the rules, what happens?
you skip your perform action step.
Correct.
You lose your action. It's a huge problem. It's the thing you don't want to have happen. It's why you see a lot of people bump baiting. It's a great way to lock people down and make sure they don't get to do what they want to do. So we are currently right now looking at, and this is not something this is finalized. This is not something that's absolutely going forward. But right now we're looking at the possibility that you can still take an action, but it has to be a focus or a calculate. That's it.
Yep. So the idea being that you do lose some of your options based on your ship's different action choices, but having you just completely get stonewalled effectively was a found mechanic. So the fact is that there are limitations and constraints on a two-dimensional system that's trying to represent three-dimensional flight. Things are going to fall on top of each other in this game. It's just going to happen. So one of the big things, of course, that players have worked around or worked actively towards is either blocking their enemy ships in order to lock them down and deny them that precious action economy, or if you're a new player, you accidentally bump into things because you're still learning the game, and then you don't get to do anything.
Yeah, and to be clear, this is not to say that using bumps to lock someone down is not a good thing. Like, that's actually great because there are a lot of these really swift aces that can maneuver and position and get all over the place. And sometimes the only way to catch them is to lock them in. And so because of that, we're not letting you do a barrel roll or a boost or anything that's going to move your ship. We're not going to give you coordinates or jams or anything that's going to do anything too wonky. But in our mind, looking at what is happening in the game from a thematic standpoint, right now, Rey is barreling down on Kylo Ren. And I cannot think of any time when Rey would be more focused
Then right now,
than right now.
this is where she's focused.
This is it. This is the moment.
Yep. So, blocking somebody with your ship strips them of a lot of choices. It doesn't strip them of everything.
Correct.
There's another point to this as well, which is currently in the rules, you're not allowed to attack at range 0 unless you have a special rule that allows it. We're looking at removing that as well. So the current testing right now is that you will always get to focus or calculate based on your action tree. And then running into somebody at range 0 does not stop you from being able to target them.
But the kind of counterbalance to that is the range 0 to 1 bonus will be the range 1 bonus. You won't get the bonus dice at range 0. And this is because one of the most effective blocks you can get basically shuts down a large portion of points for your opponent, keeping them out of the fight, away from where they want to be, with a very low squad point ship. So you're basically trying to tie up 65, 75 points worth of ships with your 20-point TIE fighter. And if you're skilled enough, you can do that multiple turns, like throughout the course of the game. This gives the player a chance to get rid of your blocker. If they're only blocking against this one thing on the other side, there's still something they can do. So, and you still get your blocker. You get your blocker for a few turns, and then eventually it's gone once we've blown it up. So that was my 5. So you're 6.
My 6. Let's do it. Whee. Boop.
And the question came up, how about pilots that can already shoot at range 0? Well, they're going to get buffed. Like, if that's the thing that they're supposed to do, and we look at it and we're like, oh, well, this doesn't do anything now, we need to add something to that to give them some flavor, to give them a little sauce, to make them really fun to play. So we'll, if we decide to do this, if we go through it and say, yeah, this is a thing that we want to add 100%, we're going to have to look at all of those cards. We'll have to look at all those upgrades, all those ships, and say, well, what does this do now? And we're prepared to do that.
All right.
We skipped my 3. Oh, no, we didn't. My 6. I thought we skipped it because I had my my focus over it. Post playing it safe.
Oh,
I dialed in a 1.
coward.
Am I a coward or am I brilliant? That's the question.
To be honest, that'll be brilliant.
Oh yeah, and we'll flip our S foils before we activate. Remember my upgrades.
For those asking about the testing process, this stuff is being tested just like everything else has been tested with external groups and internally as well. So we have not done anything different with this. As far as like public beta testing, I don't believe that is a position that we were going to go to. So
I suppose took a focus.
to be specific, for those in the chat who are saying that when we bring these up as possible changes, but it means we're just trying to warm you up, that's completely untrue. If these changes continue to work in the way that we want, we will continue with them. There may be small adjustments to them. It may be that you can only take a calculated action. It may be that you can't take actions at all.
Yeah.
Everything that we're showing and trying to be completely transparent on to give people a direction for where the game is going is all about everything that the community has asked for. Tell us what you're working on. Where are we going? What's next? So when we have things that are completely locked down and we know we are working into the game, as are the things that we've discussed already, we will tell you those things are locked in. For the rest of the stuff that's being worked around it, these are things that we're currently trying. You're kind of watching to some extent, although we've barely been paying attention to this game because the chat has just been such a great thing to try to interact with and discuss. We're showing you some of the places that we're at right now. So these are all of the things that we're currently looking at and how to make the game fit and evolve into a more in-line idea with where we want to go with the future to accomplish all of the goals that we've laid forth a few times now in the stream. Okay, so you moved, you took your thing.
Yep,
So now
took my focus, probably should have been a lock, and we're moving forward.
you can take a lock, I don't care. We're talking like we're
Yeah,
we got a lot of stuff going on right
that
now.
lock. I'm taking
Yeah,
that lock.
do
I'm going
it.
to take a lock on Kylo Ren. Thank you. You're a gentleman.
Okay. So we'll start with my 6. We'll just shoot ourselves a Y-Wing. Because I can.
Yeah, might as well.
Looks like I will be obscured, and it will be a range 3 bonus. It's going to be a very deft Y-Wing here.
About as deft as they get.
Okay.
Let's see what you got.
Pew pew. Not much. I got a crit and a hit.
Okay. I've got 2 of 8.
Look at that Y-Wing go. Juke jive all over the place.
Way to go, Shasa. All right. So that was your 3. So your 6. My 6. Poe. Yeah, Poe's gonna Poe has a lock in Kylo Ren. Poe's gonna fire his advanced proton torpedoes at Kylo Ren.
You monster.
Here we go. 5 dice.
You monster. Oh, we should talk about that. Discuss your own ties and final salvo.
I'm gonna go ahead and spend my lock. These 2.
It just gets worse and worse. You're just taking advantage of the fact that I am watching the chat, and you are dismantling my entire squad.
I hit you once. 3 hits and a crit.
All right. Come on, Kylo. Show me those boss maneuvers that you have. 1. All right, I block 1.
All right, so that is 3 then.
It will matter, though. I have 2 shields. Okay. Oh, that's too many cards.
Oh, goodness.
I guess I could have forced to use one eyeball. I'll use my force.
Yeah, do it.
That seems smart.
All right.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the changes to ties and Final Salvo. So Final Salvo obviously doesn't really fit in line with anything that we've talked about in terms of the experience that we want, the way in which the game, ideally I think is at its most fun and most enjoyable. Ending everything on we're drawn, so now we're just going to roll some dice and figure out who wins, and maybe I'll build for that is very weird. We're going to be implementing a very different system in terms of determining victory when it comes to official tournaments. Right now, if Plumber manages to destroy anything of mine, or maybe I gave him some deficit points, as long as he can stop me from scoring anything or scoring above that.
Yeah, just got to stop you from scoring more.
You just got to stop me from scoring more. Plumber's going to walk away with a victory. The new format that we're looking at actually has draws in it. So there's going to be certain levels of points that you have to hit in order to reach a point to where you have a margin of victory. And this is not the old margin of victory. This is a new margin of victory. So I'm going to use that term a little bit because it's the easiest way to kind of talk about it. But it's not the same. The rules for margin of victory as they are now are not these rules.
Correct.
The idea being that, let's say, and these are completely made up numbers right now because I don't have them in front of me, that Plumber scores 26 points of mine, and I score 0. In the current version of the organized play document, he would win. Congratulations, Plumber, you won.
Yay.
And this new organized play, one of the problems that we're trying to identify, again, is to make the game feel more thematic, to have the game be more engaged focused, to be more aggressive, to have ships shooting at each other, to have things blowing up, to force that engagement that I think many people come to X-Wing for. We want to see starfighter battles, not more of a starfighter tower defense kind of game. In the new system, there are going to be levels of margin of victory that will be determined based on the points destroyed, and you will score a certain number of tournament or event points based on the level that you reach. So if Plumber manages to destroy 26 of my points, he's going to be at the draw level. He will score basically the minimal amount of points possible. If I, as a player in our game, we go all out, we have a lot of destruction, Plumber scores a lot, he wins in the end. I score less than him. Let's say Plumber scores 140 points and I score 120. Plumber is still the victory. He is going to earn amount of event points based on that margin of victory of hitting that level, which is going to score him a lot of event points. Against the other Plumber who scored 26 but still won his game.
New Plumber is blowing me away.
Yeah, new Plumber is blowing you away. And also, I as the loser am going to probably score the same or more event points based on the margin of victory between the two. So the idea of like hanging out and only striking when the iron is perfectly in your favor to score that few points that you need and then retreating back and holding out or just delaying the game until you see that one moment where you can get a couple of points before, it's going to be done away with in a lot of different ways. So in this way, again, the game is going to fundamentally shift. It's going to be a very different experience, but I think it's going to, again, hit all of the points that we've talked about in terms of hitting more thematics, making the game more fun, making more player interaction, and bringing it more in line with what X-Wing was always designed to be, which is an adrenaline-soaked dogfighting game.
And it comes down to this idea, like if you're going to lose big. If you're going to win big. Go get as much as you can, get in there, take down the enemy, and win. Like scoring 5 points and then running away, yeah, it's a win, but scoring 120 points and continuing to go after them, that is going to net you the most points possible. And what this means is that later on in the event, it is possible that a player who has lost games but has scored a bunch of points is going to go past people that have won all their games because of how hard they played and how much they did on the table.
Okay. Your 6 shot a lot, very effectively. So my 5?
You're 5.
And then your 5?
Mr. Wren.
Mr. Wren. Well, I think I'm just going to return the favor and shoot myself a Poe Dameron. I really wanted to shoot some advanced proton torpedoes at Rey, but then I was like, I want Rey to run into me, so that's fine. Okay.
While you're doing this, Pagani's asking you to talk about scenario play.
Scenario play.
Oh,
Plumber, take it away.
my favorite. So scenario play is the thing that is coming to X-Wing. We are not ready to show it off yet. We're not ready to really talk about it in more than just a very broad sense. But so X-Wing at its core is this great dogfighting game. It is a blast to play. But there are other types of missions that starfighters might be sent on. There are other things that they need to do, maybe recover supplies or protect a station. And those are aspects that we can add to the game that we can give people another way to play. So, as you hear us talking about how this tournament scoring is going to work, you're probably already starting to like rank up in your mind, like, okay, well, what does the most damage, or what are the tankiest ships so that I lose the least points and deny them to my opponent, et cetera, et cetera. This is what I'm going to play. So another tool that we can use to kind of broaden the playing field and open up list building and give people more options that are meaningful is to add scenario play to the game. And they don't have to be super complex scenarios. They don't have to, have a whole bunch of components and things like that, but they just give you a new thing to focus on within the scenario to, number one, make sure that you're engaging by moving you towards the center of the table, and also just give you a different goal, give you a different way to score points, so that maybe if you're paired up across from someone that you're really worried about their squad build out, well, you can look at the scenario and say, okay, well, what can I do to win on the scenario? What can I do to make sure that I'm accomplishing the goals that are laid out before me? And different ships are going to be good for different things. So it's going to change the way that you think about your squad building. It's going to change the way that people think about their strategy throughout the entire day. I'm really excited for what it's going to add to the game. I'm excited for what's going to add to events and just the way that people play, and really just the things that we can do with X-Wing once we start to crack the shell on how that works within the structure of this game, which is already here.
And scenario play will be an integral part of the upcoming competitive scene. So players will have to tailor lists that can basically take on all the challenges that the competitive document will ask of them. And right now we're looking at 3 distinct scenarios, one of which is the standard dogfight scenario where you're just trying to blow up each other's ships. But there will be at least 2 others that will require players to take a different approach to the game, where destroying your opponent's ships will net you points, but playing towards the scenario will also be extraordinarily beneficial to winning.
Did you shoot at me?
I did. I rolled that.
Who did you shoot at?
I shot at
wasn't
Poe.
Paying attention.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We never pretended like we were going to get very far in this game.
That's fair. Okay. So 2. Ooh. I don't like that. All right, so 3. That's my shields.
Just your shields?
Just my shields.
Boo! Okay. Well, it's fair. You took my shields, I took your shields. It's equal. We're even. We're even, Stevens.
So my 5 will be Rey. And I'm right there. I'm going to shoot at Kylo because we got to see how this works. And we can talk about it afterwards.
Super rude.
But,
I mean, I think we kind of already talked about it.
Oh, no, I mean, like, we can talk about it after the game.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
How it goes.
Shoot away.
Oh, 1. Let's see. So I am going to, so he is in my frontal arc. So we're going to get a free blank result from my Finn Gunner, which I will spend with Rose to gain a lock, which I will spend to reroll my dice.
Nailed it.
Still 1. Go ahead.
That's what happens when you try to
you know what? I'll spend a force to make it 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
dodged.
I will block both.
That's what I get for saying it as you started rolling your dice.
True.
Yeah.
Trying to catch me.
I deserve
catch
that.
me on the fly.
I deserve that.
Sheesh.
All right, so that's my 5. Moving into your 4.
My 4. Well, we're gonna shoot at that Y-wing again.
It seems a good idea.
This time it will
Range
be
2?
a much less dodgy Y-wing. 1, 2, 3. Perform a primary attack. You're not stressed. You can gain a stress. Roll 1 additional attack die. Seems like not the time for that. Oh, maybe. Yeah, why not? We'll take a stress. We'll roll an extra die. Shabloo! Oh my gosh. We'll spend the focus just because.
Seems good.
I don't know.
Nothing. So 2?
Yeah, take 2.
All right.
I mean, technically it's 3 because your dice roll changed my dice roll. That counts, right?
Yeah, sure, why not?
We're going to be forced to use this weird dice box.
Okay. So that was your 4, so you're 3?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think we're just gonna have to take some pot shots into the Falcon.
Makes sense.
Oh, we should check that range though. We're not quite there. Okay, so we're at range 2. Not at range 3, so we're just gonna roll 2. Oops. I think I cheated and rolled 1 too many because I was looking at the wrong card. We've got 1.
Into the Falcon.
Yeah.
I'll spend my focus.
Okay.
So my 3. Shasta's going to fire at Mr. Kylo Ren. So it's going to be range 2.
That Y-Wing. So rude.
I'll spend my focus to make it 1. Why not? Make you earn
I
it.
feel like you're safe, right? I will earn it,
Well,
sir.
that's
I
fine.
will.
If you earn it, it's fine.
Ugh.
So let me go into clean up. I think that was the last shot on the table.
Yeah, that's it.
So
So
end round 2.
take this stuff off.
We've
We'll
not
get
been
to
playing
maybe
much.
round 3.
Yeah, if we're lucky.
Do. What is there on the rough draft stage? On some of the things for chat that's asking, like we've talked about several times, they're still being looked at and tested, and there will be iterations and potentially changes to them. Like the things we talked about, partially executing maneuvers, attacking at range 0, those are things we're currently looking at. As far as random player order and the way in which it's implemented now with the rules that were shown on last Friday, those are locked in. Like those are the things that we're all working on now, or working around.
And when Schick says that they're locked in, it means like that is how this is going to work when it is implemented.
Yes.
None of this is current until it is in the rules documents and has been released generally. Like this was a preview that people have been wondering, like, what are they going to do with this? What are they going to do with this? And we wanted to tell you. So here it is. But if you go to your tournament this weekend, there are still bids. There are still determined player order at the beginning of the game.
We'll see what that does for me. We will do. Do that maybe, and we will do that, and we will.
Well,
Right.
This is the tough one.
Yeah. Why not? Do. Is that the new? I don't know if it's the new debris cloud or not. Chat for those asking.
I'm over here in the tank. Apologies.
It's fine. I'm reading. I'm trying to keep up with how fast the thing is moving, and there's some really big chunks. So I'm hoping that if I miss something, BK or Pagani will tell Tony, and then Tony will ask.
All right.
About like showing off these things before, we're pretty confident that we're going to be launching these rules before the end of the year. And that is currently our plan. So I don't feel like we're way far out. We're not showing things that are going to happen a year from now. Progress has been really good and quick. And we've had good iterations. One of the things we work on really well as a studio is, fast, rapid iterations, looking at things, finding out what works, having discussions. We're playtesting, many, many games multiple times a week. And we have some great external groups that are working really hard on this stuff as well. So why do we show this stuff off? Well, because if we don't, then everybody's like, well, when are we going to see it? When are we going to see it? When are we going to see it? So we're playing this game of we want to give you guys transparency. We want to let you see what's coming. Hopefully it makes many of you excited. Hopefully for some of you, it gives you some time to like chew on it and you don't feel like you've been bamboozled or surprised at the end of it. So it's definitely one of those like fine balancing acts. For some people, we don't give enough fast enough. For some people, they prefer nothing at all. For some people, like we're on the right pace. As with many things that are subjective, it's one of those calls that we make based on what we believe will be best for the community and the game. And this is where we're at. Okay.
All right,
You
let's
done?
find. I'm set.
Let's
find out.
do it.
Let's find out what's happening here. So I've got. I had a focus and 2 hits.
All right. So I need a crit. How about 3 focus?
I mean, that'll do it.
And I'll just keep this. Thank you, sir. I will just keep this. My 3. Boop. Hard one. Boop. And I believe that we will focus. Doop. All right. Your 3.
On my 3. A 2 turn. And I am actually going to put a target lock on Scorch.
Will tournaments have both a round and a time limit? Yes, they will.
Sure will.
So that, I mean, if you play in any other games that have competitive tournaments that both have a round limit, they always have a timer because as a TO, as an event organizer, you have to know approximately how long each of your tournament rounds is going to take.
Yeah, if you didn't know that, it would be a logistical nightmare, and nothing would ever end on time, and people would end up until 3 and 4 in the morning playing tournaments, and that still happens sometimes. But we would like to try and avoid it.
Now, I think one of the things that we found in our testing of these changes and the way in which the game is shifting is that games resolve much quicker now because you're incentivized. You're not spending a certain number of rounds necessarily playing the same waiting game. You are incentivized to go in, to get engaged from the start, to see more things happen. And there's still very much a positional game. You want to get into your opponent's back arcs. You want to mitigate damage yourself. You want to be smart about how you get out of arcs. And I think aces still do a lot of that. But in terms of like more, it pushes that needle back towards more of a midline than more of a, okay, I need to be conservative. I'm always worried about how many points I'm going to give up, not necessarily how many points I'm going to earn.
And you know what? There's still a lot to be said for like making that 5 straight and then boosting and just avoiding them entirely, because there's that whole game of chicken aspect too. Like, you're playing against your opponent. You need to try and read them and what they're doing. And sometimes making your opponent guess, well, when are they going to engage? When are they going to come in on me? They've just been running around. I guess I don't need to worry about it. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're on them. Like, that's a strategy. That is a way to play. And it can catch people off guard, and it's exciting when it does.
I think Pagani is right. The chance of us going 12 rounds, I'm going to be honest, the chance of us even going 3 rounds, because we have like 20 minutes left.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
The,
all right.
the time is flying.
Yeah, it is.
It's unlikely. But again, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, the game is mostly just there for set dressing. We got to show a couple of things happen naturally that we can talk about.
Got to roll some dice.
You get to roll dice. I love rolling dice. We got to talk a little bit more about the change specifically on Friday, more of the changes that are coming, all of that stuff. We warned you at the front end. We did not come into this with the mindset of we were going to dial in and play a very significant game of X-Wing. Instead, we wanted to take this opportunity to really talk with the community, have some cool ships on the table, maybe move some stuff around, roll some dice. Okay. We are still looking at sideboarding. I don't think sideboarding is going to become a primary tournament mode, but we just had some discussions this morning about some options and some formats that will allow for it and how that would work. And I'm pretty excited about what those could bring to both competitive and normal game store kitchen table kind of play if you want to play with those formats. I think formats are great. Again, this goes back to the discussion about why 3 dice, why not 1 dice, and call it like a coin flip for random player order, because having that wider variance is important for building the game in a way that it can be expanded on with multiplayer, with AI, with all of these other things that will work as well.
And what I think is the great thing about different formats and different ways of playing, so like if we make a format that has a sideboard and one that doesn't, is that there are going to be players that love sideboarding. They love the idea of, bringing multiple options that maybe may not all hit the table and having a plan for if they see, Vader and a TIE Defender, or having a plan for if they see, a bunch of TIE Phantoms. Like whatever it is that they're afraid of playing, whatever the big, monster in their mind is, like they can bring something to prepare for it. And other people really like the idea of like locking in, this is my perfect list, I am going to learn to play it, I'm going to know exactly what it does, how I want to play it, where I want to be, what I want to do. And by having multiple different formats, we create different ways to play the game that are satisfying for more players. And even like I used to go to a lot of conventions. I love conventions, and I would play in 3 and 4 tournaments a day of the same game. Having different formats lets you play differently throughout the course of the same day, keeps it fresh, kind of keeps some of that fatigue away from playing the game all day. I think it's very exciting, and I'm really, really looking forward to what we come up with for those.
Mm-hmm. Where are we at? Did you move? My move?
I moved my 3. You moved your 3.
Yeah,
so you're
I'm on
4.
my 4?
Yeah.
You took your action?
Yeah, I locked you.
Perfect. All right, so I think we're going to partially execute here. Boop. Boop. I will clear that.
Oh,
I
no.
will take my focus from that. Okay, and then it will be
My
5s? My 5.
Yep.
My 5.
Your 5.
My 5.
You're 5.
My 5, sir. All right, we're going to try a Talon roll here. Whoop.
Ooh, that was
I don't know.
slick.
Tell me, did I make it or did I not? You're going to have to judge because I'm like
Oh, yeah,
leaning
you
over
made
the
it.
table.
You
Okay.
made it. By a hair, but you made
By
it.
a hair. Nailed it. We'll take my stress. And I'll be good.
All right, so my 5. What did I dial in for Ray again? 3 left. So we're going to roll for that asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crit. It wasn't in a box, but it's a crit, so I'm going to take it. Eat that shield. Crunch. And action. I'm going to lock Kylo.
Do it.
So you're 6.
All right. I've been playing X-Wing since it launched at Gen Con. So my experience with the game was very high in 1.0. It kind of dropped off as life got in the way and I had kids and stuff in 2.0. But I've always stayed engaged and up to date on the game. And I really loved the game when it first came out. And I think that, that was a really good experience and foundational thing to see the game in its kind of original form, and then to watch it kind of grow and expand. And I obviously, like everyone, I have personal opinions about where I think some of that expansion might have been overgrown weeds and where certain things might have been placed better. Your personal bias always comes into game development as well. Mm-hmm. We come to work every day looking specifically at how do we make the best product, the best game experience, the most fun experience possible that also looks towards the longevity and the lifespan of the game itself. And as we've talked about before, sometimes that lines up with people, sometimes it doesn't, especially when change happens. Change is different. Mm-hmm. But we do believe that this change is good, yes.
And they did point out I can only focus.
Oh.
Based on our rules right now. So thank you, Chad.
Because you partially?
Well, no, because I
Got
overlapped while
it.
executing a maneuver. So
Got it. I wasn't
technically you lose
watching.
an action, but
Yep.
with what
Yep.
we're playing, it is I can focus.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that. That's fine.
Seems good. All right.
Brain is not
five,
with me
five,
entirely on the
6,
game.
6.
What do we got here?
Let's see if we. Ooh. I will target lock you. Y-wing.
Oh no.
Boop.
It's going to be a bad day. And my 6.
All right.
So I went with this 3 bank. What do I want to do action-wise? Let's do... Well, let's boost
Okay.
this way. And then I'm going to go ahead and spend my charge to perform a white action, treating it as red, and I'm going to get a target lock on this guy.
Would your stress have stopped you from focusing, sir?
What's
The chat's at the stress on Ray, that stress token that's right next to her, that I believe you've missed.
There we go.
You've driven them nuts, and for a while I was like, I don't know what's wrong.
I mean, like,
and then Pagani was like,
disclosure,
he just missed the stress.
I'm thinking a lot about the questions that people are asking and not entirely focusing here. So thank you.
Okay, it's everyone, right? We're good. Poe's gone. That's gone. So my 6. We're gonna shoot a Y-wing. Whatever is that? Who's that?
Shooting that Y-wing.
Yeah.
Shasazora?
Dope. Because I have a target lock on you, you cannot modify your dice.
Oh, delightful.
Not that I don't think you took an action
Well,
that allows you to do that.
I'll
so-
enjoy my 1.
Yeah. And then we're at range 1, obviously, so I will take the 3. Oh, goodness. I will spend the lock.
Reroll those.
I might as well, because I think this is the end.
Seems good.
There we go. Crit and hit.
Crit and hit. All right. 2 more shields. My 6 doesn't have a shot. So you're 5.
My 5.
Mr. Kylo.
We'll just shoot the Y-wing again. Why not? I'm pretty sure we're at range 2 here. Boop. Yep. Great. 1, 2, 3. Oh no, Kylo. He was too busy just sliding in that maneuver. All right, that's it for my 5. So Ray.
Yeah, I mean, Ray's going to shoot at Kylo. The shot is going to be obstructed by this asteroid, obviously.
Rude.
So
I'll get 4.
I'm going to get 2. Delightful. I get my blank result, which I'll spend to get a lock on you. Oh, no, that's only front arc. So, cheers. I just miss.
You just miss.
I'm
anyway.
grasping at
Just for the
straws here.
lulz. Just for the lulz. Okay.
So you're 4?
Yep, my 4. We will. Might as well just dump into that Y-wing range 0. Sure, it might be better actually to shoot the.
A lot of people are asking about, I guess there's an Armada obstacle on the board. That is just an honest mistake. There are a lot of tokens on my desk, and I grabbed one of the wrong ones.
All right, range 0 shot at the Y-wing. Got a crit. Pew 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 pew. Take it.
That'll happen.
Take it.
That will happen. So that was your 4?
All right.
Or that was your 3?
my 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So now my 3.
Your 3.
We'll shoot at a Poe.
Great.
Within 2. Easy peasy. We get the 2. Pew 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 pew. We got 1.
Ace dodges. There we go.
Whoosh. All right.
I'll take my 3. cannot use my cluster missiles on you because we're at range 0 and it is at range 1 to 2. So I'm actually just going to shoot at this guy here. I'll shoot at midnight. And I'll get the +1 for the range bonus. 2 hits.
Who are we shooting at?
Shooting into midnight.
How dare you? Papa Midnight doesn't care about your
Papa
lasers.
Midnight does not care about my lasers.
He does not care about your lasers.
That is a true statement. So that, round 3. Let me clean up.
All right. I think with that, we're almost at time. So if there are any other questions that folks have, if your question is why X, Y, or Z, please go back, watch the whole stream together. And then otherwise, I hope that you've enjoyed hanging out with us, not really watching a game of X-Wing, but instead having a pretty in-depth talk about changes, our thought processes, where the game's going, all of that good stuff. We're looking forward to doing more of these in the future, weather willing, that we continue to have internet and streaming capabilities. But it is winter, so we may wind up with a couple more cancellations just based on how things go on. So with that, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We look forward to the next one. Till then, be good to each other. Continue to have open and friendly discourse about everything. We all have our feelings, we all have our opinions, but again, let's be nice to each other, and we will talk to you on the next one. Thank you for joining me, Plumber.
Thanks for joining me. It was fun.